Hello, everyone. Today we have our regular DevSync at Subspace Labs. We'll share updates on our protocol and otherwise from the previous week and share some plans for the future. Serge, do you want to start?
Sure. So last week we discussed that Moonriver and Killed Parachains, they have won a new lease, and there is a risk, like we discussed, there might be a risk of interruptions. So from what I understand, there should be no interruptions. But yeah, that was like a conversation with ambassador. So I will definitely keep an eye on that to make sure that that's the case. Apart from that, I had a call with Vlad on feed validation, introduced him to pilot feeds and a little bit on relayer side as well. And I also still have ongoing communication with Bernardo from Parity regarding finality proofs endpoint. So what he suggested is to run a local Kusama node and sync it from Genesis. And yeah, this is what I'm currently doing. It's still syncing. So, and apart from that, I have updated test A, both node and farmer to use the most recent snapshots. There is an error. Connection is dropped with Subspace node, and I will investigate it probably this week. There was also issue with test B last week, so block production was resumed. It wasn't fixed exactly how we wanted, but currently it works. And after there is an issue with endpoint. It's on finality endpoint. So I reached out to on finality team. Maybe they can help fix this problem. And I was doing also research on Ethereum. How can we connect and process Ethereum blocks? Yeah, that's all.
Okay, any questions?
Yeah. So regarding the sync for Kusama, is that so that we can have the sort of backwards compatibility for the different changes they've made in their consensus?
So the current problem is that this endpoint doesn't work for all until certain block number. This get finality proofs endpoint, it doesn't work for like earlier blocks. And in order for us to verify blocks from Genesis, we need it working from Genesis basically. And yeah, we're investigating why it doesn't work.
Can't we just?
So my understanding is that there was some client upgrade, and just for the blocks that happened before that client upgrade, they didn't store like additional information to retrieve those justifications. So if you start a fresh node and sync from Genesis, it will populate those things. But if it was started earlier, like in case of parity endpoints, it just doesn't have some information for older installations.
Yeah, I was using parity endpoint.
Yeah, I thought we decided that we were just going to go with the latest block as trusted, like a checkpoint. So we didn't have to have all this backwards compatibility built into our implementation. Like we just go with the latest version, and sync from that versus having to like support every upgrade from Genesis.
Yeah, this is what we discussed with VED, but since like it doesn't block the current development, so I just decided in case we want to do it from Genesis, we still need to figure out this, right?
I thought we would do the snapshot or like checkpoint from the block that happened after their hard fork, so we can like follow regular bake process. But we can as well do it even later.
But
Yeah.
from the development, sorry, Jana, like
No,
from
go
the
ahead.
development point of view, nothing changes though, to be honest. Like everything will be similar, like how we start from which point. But I'm still working on the feed validation with an assumption that we'll start without any backward compatibilities or as such. We're just going to start at some point that has a continuous validation from that point. So it could be from the genesis if it works for us. So.
Yeah, I think we can go from the last, whatever the block is that we start the bridge at, or we can go with, since this hard fork, just either way. Doesn't really matter, but I don't think it's a requirement for us to support this from Genesis, so we shouldn't expend any resources on that.
Okay, understand.
Okay, cool. Also, I had reached out to Robert Drost at Consensus about Ethereum integrations to get his feedback. And so he shared a couple of resources with me. I just forwarded that email to you, Serge. There's a couple in there. One is for L2s. You can kind of ignore that right now because that's going to be later. That's not our focus. But the other is this website called chainlist.org, and it has a list of all the Geth compatible Ethereum implementations. So it looks like once we have one Geth compatible integration, that we'll get 200 chains roughly. Just like once we had one substrate implementation, we got all the pair chains. It looks like we'll have something similar. It won't be the same as Polkadot and Kusama, where it's like L1s and L2s. They're all going to be L1s, but they should all work more or less the same in theory, at least. So it looks like we're probably going to want to support Geth in that case, versus like using like Open Ethereum or something. I mean, I'm assuming, I don't know if the RPC endpoints are all the same.
They should be the same. Yeah.
Okay.
Not really. There are some methods that are only available on Open Ethereum. So there are
Okay,
some.
but if you're talking
specific-
about something like get block, it should be
Yeah.
everywhere.
Yeah, it's more like about debug and tracing. Those are client specific, but I think we don't need them at this stage.
Okay, we can have a more in-depth discussion on that on Thursday, but I just wanted to point you to that resource, Serge.
Sure, I'll take a look.
Thanks.
All right, Ozgan, you're next on my screen.
Of course. So it was a busy week, mostly because of macOS signing trials. On the Subspace desktop side, we fixed macOS signing and it is working properly. Also, another big thing is we managed to upgrade to Taurik to its latest versions, thanks to Nazar. But a couple of other bugs came out during this upgrade. One of them was related to Apple scripts, but we managed to solve it. The second one is actually because of the timing. The Rust tool version is updated, and ring created a problem. I believe this issue also existed on monorepo, so we changed that also. And we released another version of Subspace desktop. We are now following release notes. So in each release, we are adding some release notes. Other than that, I tested OpenCL for sloth. And today I was busy with trying out the new GitHub projects beta for our project board for Subspace desktop. It's looking good. I have a few comments on that if we have the time. And other than that, today there is also a macOS signing issue on Subspace monorepo. And I created a branch and will submit a PR today, probably with Justin together. And there were some other bugs or requests made from Yvonne and Skylar from our team, from their experience with Subspace desktop. I also logged the issues, opened new ones, and fixed some of the easy ones, and we'll create a PR about that also today. And for GitHub Projects beta, I can screen share or I can just comment them because it's very trivial. Let me do the comments from here.
Let's push that to the end. I was gonna, if we got
Okay,
some time, we can have a, I think it's a good discussion, but let's hold that to the end.
Of course. Any questions to me?
When are you expecting the next release of the desktop farmer?
So actually, I was waiting for Leo's change on folder structure, but it seems it will be delayed. In the meantime, I can do implement the reward address functionality to Subspace desktop, and that should be enough for a new release. So by the end of this week, seems possible, but I cannot guarantee it.
Okay, and when was the last release published?
Last week, like Thursday or Friday, I believe.
Okay.
Around that.
All right, if you can have a demo, I haven't added it to the calendar yet. We're going to put the app sync back on. I just forgot to make it recurring weekly. But if you can have a demo of reward address working by Thursday, that would be wonderful.
Yeah, I will try for sure.
Okay, great.
It looks like 0.2.1 is actually fixing a lot of problems. Maybe you can make it a release, even though it's like not something we encourage people to install. It's really much better than 0.2.1, 0.2.0.
Yeah.
Also, we had a discussion with Jeremiah about security of the desktop application, and I wanted to clarify that that problem with AppleScript is actually part of the security sandboxing of Tower itself. It doesn't allow you to run random scripts. You need to like whitelist specific things, and you can like narrow everything basically to 0, and they just allow a few things specifically in terms of both like listening and connecting to networks, disk access, that kind of thing. So I think it's
sorry to interrupt. Are you talking about the keys we inserted in entitlements?
yes.
AppleScript is different. That's why.
I think no, that was not entitlements. That was in the Tower config, what Tower itself allows and not allows you to do.
Okay. Yeah.
So there is some degree of security built into it by default. Like by default, nothing is allowed, but you can like, open things up.
Yeah, we fixed that on Friday with Leo on the permissions to AppleScript, and it worked. So it's done.
Yeah, and like Nazar said, if we've got bugs that have been fixed since the last release, like we don't need to wait on a major feature upgrade to do another release. So as soon as we fix bugs, let's just get a new release out there. We don't have to do a big announcement about it, but we just want to get on a more continuous cycle here.
Yeah, I just need approval from one reviewer to my PR that is being merged, and after that we can have a release.
We have plenty of reviewers here.
Yeah.
Who are tagged as reviewers on that?
Nazar, Leo, and I believe Justin.
Okay, so it sounds like Nazar. We need you to review that.
Okay, anything else, Wolfgang?
No.
Cool, Ivan, you're next on my screen.
Sure, yeah. During the last week, thanks to Nazar, we finally merged partial replica support. I guess Nazar can talk about some of the flaws which he discovered and fixed on that PR during his speech. So also, apart from that, we synced with Nazar about the future of the multi-replica and how can we approach to it. So basically, right now I'm working on the integrating logic of checking the solution range for the pieces in the consensus itself, enforcing those rules in the consensus. And after that, I can move on to the simplest version of the multi-replica support. Also, within last week, I opened PR with the benchmarking of the partial replica, basically benchmark of the plotting itself. And it seems that there are no major regressions on that. Right now I'm working on the enforcing the rules on the in the consensus for the checking the solutions. That's it from my side.
Well, the range for solutions was already enforced. We are adding a new check for the maximum size of the plot.
Yeah. Sorry. Yeah. I meant that basically. So we are adding a new constant which basically would enforce the maximum plot size for each identity, so that users will create multiple identities. Yeah.
What is your estimate on having the first version of multi-replica working, Yvonne, and the time?
I'm not sure yet. I guess I could talk about that after the merge of the of this pair of the enforcing consensus rules. I hope I will fix that soon.
Okay. I'd like to talk to you one-on-one afterwards about the timeline for this. So if you can stick around at the end of the meeting.
Yeah, sure, of course.
Okay, and so this PR, it's what's the blocker for getting that merged? Does it just need review?
Oh no, it's not done yet. I mean after the after I finish this task. Yeah.
This is for partial replica plotting?
No.
Sorry.
This task is about the fixing max plot size for the replica.
Okay. Okay, so the partial replica plotting has been merged?
Yep.
Is that integrated into the desktop app yet, Oskin?
No.
It's not part of the latest snapshot. We are like stepping through snapshots in the desktop application.
Okay. When can we have that integrated into the what I guess what I'm trying to get at is I'd like the changes that Yvonne is making to be tested on the test network as soon as possible. So how quickly can we do we need to make another snapshot so Oskin can roll that into the desktop app and we can confirm that everything is working as
we don't
expected?
need for a snapshot, right? I can just specify the revision for GitHub as the dependencies for Subspace node, and it should work fine. And also Farmify, of course.
Theoretically, you can just make sure that we didn't break anything in terms of consensus. Otherwise, it will stop working.
Mm-hmm.
Like you can upgrade Node and leave the runtime. Just make sure that we didn't break any like APIs that runtime relies on. Otherwise, it should really be possible. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. So if you can get that merged in as quickly as possible, I'd like to get that deployed to the test network this week. Okay. All right, cool. That's it. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, everyone. Indeed, really happy with the progress so far. Looks like we are really close to getting a major upgrade towards like user experience of the farmers. Luchan, you're next.
Okay. So last week, the primary job that has been done is the implementation of fraud-proof verification on the primary node, which is done by a new externality extension. I have opened up a PR for review. I haven't tested it though. This week, I will be working on the test of fraud-proof verification on the primary node, this implementation, I mean. If everything goes well, I guess we will have some new problems. The next step will be make the executor fetch the runtime code from the primary chain instead of reading it from the local storage. Yeah, that's my updates.
Some great progress, Luchan. That's a huge milestone.
We still have some issues with that.
All right. Anyone has questions about any of that? Okay, Justin.
Yeah. Last week I was sick, so I was a little bit under full capacity. My biggest focus was just trying to help out the community and everything, make sure that all all their questions get answered and try and support them as best as I can. My other side focus was getting the new bot set up that we've been working on to help with spam attacks and raid attacks and various different things on the Discord. Got it implemented, but I'm just kind of refining some of the settings. Like for example, it broke our ranking bot, so I just have to make sure that that gets sorted. Beyond that, moving into this week, my biggest focus is going to be that, and then moving into testing the new versions that that Ozgun released for the Subspace desktop. And once that's good, get that rolled out to the team, like we have been the past couple of weeks, make sure we find any bugs that may arise. And then move on and continue to work on some of the things that I didn't have a chance to finish up last week, such as continuing to work on some of the documentation and improving some other of the community side of things as far as like resources and things like that go.
Okay, so the snapshot or the release that Ozgun put out the end of last week, have we announced that to the team and the ambassadors yet?
Not yet. I hadn't had a chance to test it last week, so that's going to be my first priority this morning.
Okay, yeah. So so that's like a 4-day gap. So let's try to get to like same day releases, at least announcing. I mean, it should just be like, hey guys, just download and install this, try to run it, look for bugs. So let's get on a cycle where we're doing that like same day, next day at the latest of just getting the update out there. If you can't do it, let Ozgun know, let somebody else know so that we can just keep things moving forward. And what I'd like to do is get you to test it, team to test it today. If there's no bugs tomorrow, I'd like to make an announcement in the community that we have a new release and everybody should upgrade as well, so we can start testing it there. And I'd like to get on a cycle where within 24 hours of a release, if there's no issues, no bugs, that we're announcing it to the community.
Definitely. Yeah, that was my mistake. I didn't realize that release had come out at the end of last week, so I apologize.
Okay. Yeah, and Ozgun, we gotta be really communicative, like as well. Like you need to like @message Justin and me, like every time there's a release. Like there's so much going on, there's so much flying around right now that like we can't say like, well, you should be following the GitHub repo or whatever. Because I mean, especially with the attack we had last week, like there's just so much going on. We got to be a little bit explicit in our communication as we go through these updates.
No problem.
By the way, a releases page on every repository has RSS and auto feeds. You can actually subscribe to new releases and it will arrive at your application of choice if you want to do that. Okay, unless there are any questions, you're next.
Cool. Okay, no questions. Last week, spent some time talking to Lu Chang, Ivan, Ozgun, as well as Sergey about the things that they're working on. And I started picking up things on the grandpa validation side. There's a PR out there that contains the primitives of the verification, finality verification. I'm working on a follow-up to that actually implements a state as well as the palette on top of it that could be used in the palette feeds. My main focus is that, at least for the next few days. Then I want to see where things goes on the integration sync.
Okay, questions to add? All right, I think I'll just tell that we are right now the number 3 on the telemetry. Technically, we are number 4, but there is some strange number of 0 blocks nodes on the chainx. Someone is trying to play us. So that's why we are 4th. Otherwise, we are 3rd. And we are going up and up. So we'll probably cross Polkadot at some point. They have 1,600. We are almost at 1,000. So congratulations, everyone, on great work getting that rolled out and working and actually people using it, even though it's not incentivized. On the code upgrade side, I did some fixes to partial replica. There are some minor things related to the fact that previously we were writing pieces consequently and every index was monotonically increasing. Right now, we're filtering out some of the pieces, so there were gaps, and not all of the code was aware of that. So sometimes we were plotting things that were not retrievable later or were not verifiable when solution was found. So I had to fix those things, but otherwise, great job on the Ivan side. We finally have partial replica implemented. Then there was a small issue with nightly. I think we will start pinning just a nightly at specific version and upgrading it from time to time instead of relying on latest nightly. It should unbreak our CI in general and not have any surprises. Anytime that there is a new feature in Rust that we want to use, we can just upgrade it. So that's like slight change in policy, I guess. Then there was an attempt to combine runtimes of execution and consensus into one binary blob. It kind of worked, but really didn't, because initially I was testing the native runtime, which is not the same thing. Turns out that there are many global things in those runtimes. First of all, there are many functions which are like externcy, norm angle, that are exposed publicly in the WASM, so you can call them directly by name. And there are the same functions in both runtimes, but they're actually calling some internal implementations which are different for different runtimes. So whatever the last one that was in the bundle is actually included instead of like erroring out. So that was a little bit surprising. And there are also things that are added to the link sections that end up being in special sections of the WASM bundle, such that the substrate can actually read that from the bundle without running it. So you can like read what are the runtime APIs without actually instantiating the virtual machine and like running the function and getting the result, decoding it. That's something they did for optimization, primarily for parachains, where they have a lot of other runtimes that they don't want to instantiate without need, but they want to check compatibility or something. And that was taking like 5 seconds to compile. So in the end, I did another attempt, which is currently under review, which basically includes WASM bundle as a like slice of memory in the other runtime instead of like proper code with everything. And there is a new runtime API which you can just call and get number of bytes with the runtime. So that's much simpler approach. Lucheng has another version of that, and we are still discussing whether it works and what we want to include. So it turned out to be a little bit more complex than we expected, but I think we are making progress, and there's basically we kind of agree on like what we wanted to look from the outside. We are still discussing what we look on the inside. Then there was an upgrade. Basically, I prepared the release for the sloth library with OpenCL support. I'm still waiting for Ozone to just take a look at that, and we'll merge it and get the release out. And we can start including it in our farmer. Turns out the implementation of the CUDA with pin memory is not necessarily required. There is like 1-2% difference in performance. So the API will be still nice, and we probably can get rid of CUDA native at that point, but we'll see. It's not like not necessary right now. It can work without it. Yeah, and I was also still debugging the problem where we had problems with block verification due to root blocks not matching in both blocks. Like different nodes were thinking differently about those things. I think I have another plausible explanation, which would be that verification and block import in Substrate both have some logic for verifying whether the block is valid. However, I think there are different assumptions. So verification should be basically done kind of like statelessly, in a sense that it doesn't require previous blocks to be imported. And I think that is the reason why sometimes root blocks are not the same that we think they should be in the verification. But for the block import, of course, we need to import the parent block first. So I think that might be a point of confusion. I asked the question on the Stock Exchange on Substrate, and if I get clarification for that, I think we'll get rid of that problem finally. It's like super rare, primarily on restarts, but it is still a problem nevertheless. So it would be nice to finally iron it out. It's bothering me for a long time. Yeah, and there are a lot of discussions with different people about different things on the design as well and on the roadmap. But we'll announce them once we are ready and done with them. I guess that's it. Any questions to me? Oh, well, that's surprising. No questions. Jeremiah, do you have any announcements that we need to do before we stop recording?
No, I don't.
Okay. Thanks everyone for watching then. Thanks to our development team for great work, and we'll see you next week.